guys, Mark Farashi with ProTech Dog Training, and Maury was coming in from being out in the kennel today. He's all excited and he's going to mess something up. I know he is. Off of me. Good. I promised you guys a video. We were talking on a thread where somebody was asking what a stem collar was, because I mentioned stem collars. Stem collars is just another name for e-collars, or what it's also called, electric collar, stimulation collar. I like to call it stimulation collar and e-collar to take away the negativity, a very powerful tool. And that's all any of these tools are, whether it's a pinch, aversive, shock collar, better known as a stem collar for me. Aversives in general are nothing more than a tool. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the philosophy in that, and my philosophy in regards to that. A tool is only as good as the person that's using the tool and their knowledge to be able to use the tool in a proper way so that you do not have a negative type of association towards that tool and be using it abusively. And the way I like to explain it to my customers is an analogy of, if you were out on the weekend and you went to an art show and you walked in with all those little booths they're at, and all these booths are all over the place, and you see a guy over in the corner and he's got a chainsaw with a big old chunk of wood, and you take off in the art show and you cruise around, you get done with your day, you're walking out, and this guy's been chomping on this piece of wood, and you get back on your way out, and all of a sudden you see that this guy has put together a beautiful piece of art. It's a hawk, or it's a bear, it's something that's so intricate that's not even funny. And this man has done it with a chainsaw. How did he do that? He took something that's very usually used in a very aggressive way to chop wood and to be a functional tool in regards to chopping down trees, and he has mastered the use of this chainsaw to the degree that he can be very finite and very minute with his ability to use this tool and to create a beautiful piece of art. Very intricate, and you would never think that somebody could do that. How did he do that? He mastered the tool, and he worked with it in such a way that he made a lot of finesse and quality with using a tool that you wouldn't think of that. So that same analogy can be used with the analogy of using stem collars, pinch collars, whatever it may be, in how we use it and how we apply it. And I told you guys, I've been training dogs since I was 12 years of age. My whole life has been eat, breathe, sleep dogs. And this is what I do. And I want to make you realize that that is the case. Here you see magazines, books. I've got thousands of dollars in literature and in books and in online material that I partake in, and I'm constantly feeding myself. Always staying on top of my trade and getting to understand the mind. I'm going to a seminar this next month, this next weekend. In fact, tomorrow I will be at a seminar on clickers. I'm looking for a clicker right now because I know I got one. Clickers and stem collars, and how they can be applied and worked with together. With a tool such as a stem collar, a modern stem collar, because these things have evolved tremendously. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Maury. Maury, here. Couche. No, I want you to write down couche. Couche, probably. He gets all excited because he hears my voice and I'm talking, and this is not normal to him. Usually I'm addressing him in a way of command stature and putting commands on him where he's supposed to be working. And he's not used to hearing my voice like this unless there's somebody in the room and I'm talking to somebody. So he gets a little bit put off by this. I think he'll get more and more used to it. I'm going to keep having him come out because he usually is in the back room. I put him away from me and he starts barking and going crazy, and that's getting very irritating. So I'm going to start having him join me and be with me. Right now he's out of sight of the camera. More, I see. Good boy. All right, come on. Couche. Couche. Pas bouger. Couche rest. You rest. Silly. All right, so in a nutshell, let me go and explain what a stem collar and how I use it and how it should be applied. There's a lot of different people in the world and they use tools differently, but the tool that I use is a stem collar that's very powerful in regards to how I can dial this in a modern day stem collar versus the old archaic one that we started with back in the 70s. Was produced and put together by a company by the name of Tritronics, and I can't really say that they were the first one to put out a stimulation collar, but they were one of the most popular ones in my era because that's the ones that I remember. And they were very antiquated compared to what we have today. You actually, to change the stimulation, you had to take the collar and take out a plug and then put in another plug. They had anywhere from 1 to 7, maybe 1 to 10 stimulation levels, which means that the jump each time it would go up would be dramatically. These new ones have stimulation levels from 0 to 100, so you can understand how very fine-tuned that I can tune that. Then the stimulation, if used properly in the way that I use it, is done where I condition the animal from the very get-go and do it with a very low stimulation. And I can take this stimulation down to a very minute amount to the point where he doesn't even feel it. I can't feel this until it's about an 8 to a 12, maybe a 15 in level. The dogs that I've worked over the years, I have found that they can, at the lowest that they'll feel it is at about a 4. And they'll feel the stimulation. All it feels like to them is a little tickle. They don't know what the feeling is. They don't understand what this stimulation is on their neck. So we have to start conditioning the animal to teach him what that stimulation is in such a way that you end up giving the power to the dog and conditioning the animal and teach him how to turn off this stimulation by complying to a command that he already knows. I don't use these to teach a dog anything. I use this to reaffirm and to take my training farther than I have already once I've got the dog obedience trained and he's doing all the commands, he's working like a top, and now I want to have a communication tool, and that's what this is, to be able to get the dog to do these things from a distance and be able to handle all kinds of little different things that we can do, which makes it a very powerful tool because I don't have to have a leash on the dog, I don't have to have a collar on the dog other than the stim collar, and I can reach out and touch him very easily. And I do it in such a way that it's so small that he barely feels it, and then I get him to learn that he turns it off by complying to the command. He already knows what he's supposed to do, and now when he learns how to do this, it's pretty easy to explain how we condition that into the animal. We basically teach the dog and give the dog the power to turn off the stimulation once he complies. So let's say I've got the dog and he already knows how to down. I tell the dog his command, I say Maury, I say down, and at the same time I give that down command, I hit the stimulation on the button. And the stimulation is there and he doesn't understand it, and he might be a little confused in the beginning. I'll put him right at my side and I'll actually push him down if I have to. Once he's down, I let go of that button. So in other words, the dog starts to learn that the stimulation goes away when he's compliant. So then I take that, I condition it for a while, the stimulation is there and then it goes away. He starts to understand a little bit, and then I start adding a couple more commands. We usually do 2 or 3 of them that we do. A go away, a come, and a down is the first 3 that I start to condition in the animal. And I'm out to be able to convey to the dog that with his compliance and him succeeding with the command that he's already been taught, that the stimulation goes away and then a lot of high praise comes as a reward, whether it's food, a ball, whatever, he's going to get his reward at that point at the same time. So it goes in line with previous conditioning that when he does the command, he does the right job, he gets a reward, whether it's food, whether it's play, toy, whatever type of motivational type of a reward that he has been already conditioned, that's what he's going to get. After a little while, the dog becomes what they call fluent. He understands what this means, but it takes proper conditioning, it takes understanding dog psychology, and it takes a skilled hand to be able to use the tool in the proper way so that it has a maximum efficiency and power. And the idea is to give the power to the dog. Once he figures out that that's where he's getting his reward, he's going to start doing what he wants to for you, and he's going to start doing what he needs to for you, and start working. And now that dog starts getting high on the fact that he's getting the same old theories, everything that's been communicated to him in the past, because we've already been training this dog, and we basically shaped and formed the way he thinks of the world, which is obedience to him is nothing but pleasure. And if you ever come out and see me do my demos and everything, you'll see how happy Maury is. Maury loves to work. It's because I have built him just like I am building a car or any other thing that I might build, a house or whatever, with proper foundation and the proper learning tools. So I've taught the dog how to learn. When I work a dog like this, you've seen me a lot of times, I'll be putting out my videos on working physical aspects and exercising the dog and the things that I do with the dog, but I work that muscle of the brain as much as I work anything else. And I've taught the dog how to learn from a very young age, so he is very receptive to learning and growing with anything I do with him. But it's got to be done properly, and you have to use the tool properly. So the tool, in regards to aversives, whether it's a pinch, stim collar, whatever that all these purists want to be negative about, realize that it's only as good as the person that's using the tool. Because you can have a tool and use it the wrong way, and that tool is not going to be able to be used properly, or it's going to cause damage, it's going to cause problems with what you're trying to do. So again, been training dogs since I was 12 years of age. I've been doing it my whole life. I never stopped reaching for knowledge and growing. And I've got an old saying I used to say when I was a kid. I started this saying when I was in my first business at 18 years of age. Maury, get out of there. Good boy. He's trying to sniff the camera. And that is that I know everything and I know nothing. And I know nothing before I know everything. And I hope I feel that way when I'm 85. That's what I said when I was a kid. I need to extend that age level, I think, a little longer, maybe 105. So, in other words, you never stop learning until the day you die. As long as you're willing to open your mind and keep an open mind and learn and grow, you're going to go very far. Those that have a very closed-minded attitude and want to be negative on something and don't want to learn and grow from something that they may not understand are not going to go very far. And as an example of that, I use everything as far as a science-based training you can think of. Clickers, I use marker training, which is a derivative of a clicker, a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of food, and I'll take it into a ball, and I call it tools in my toolbox. I try to add as much communication tools in my toolbox as possible with my animal. It starts with food. Once the dog figures that out, it goes to a toy. Now I start using that as a conditioning tool, and I use the toy, and then I take it to other things, and I don't necessarily always go to a stim collar. It's a step ladder. So there's companies out there that's all they advocate is using a stim collar, and I don't agree with that because they'll put it on a very young puppy which doesn't have the nerves and the maturity to be able to understand this. And stim collars are pressure. They're pressure just like anything else that I'm going to try to make the dog do. And that pressure to me is a negative thing because it's just one more thing for that animal to have to process. And when he's a puppy, I don't want to have to put him through that. Does it work? I've seen it work. I know it works. But in my world, in my opinion, I don't think it's conducive to the dog's learning and growth. I want to do it where I don't do it till later when the dog already has a communication baseboard to work with, and then I'll bring in the stim collar if we're trying to achieve certain things. I use it a lot of times for reactive dogs, and I don't put it on a negative connotation. I use it only on the backside once the dog understands what he's supposed to do with a lot of other methods that I have. And then I will start with the stim collar and then top that off with the training. I've got a German Shepherd that I think I had a video on, a reactive German Shepherd, and he's ready to do that now. He's ready to go to a stim collar and start to work towards that. He's back home with the owners, and I've done a lot of education with the owners where they're doing pretty good with him and learning and growing and understanding about dog psychology. There's an old saying, we don't train the dogs, we train the people. And it's very true. Without your education, without teaching you and getting you to understand and have that relationship between you and the dog, we're not going to go very far. Because the dog lives with you, and a dog is a product of two things: his genetics, his genetic makeup, and his environment. And you're everything with his environment. And if you don't do the right things, you're not going to have a very well trained dog. So we've got to train you and get you to understand what dog psychology is about. I have a big saying, and I hate that I want to make sure I partake to you folks, and that is that dog is not a robot. He's a living emotional being. And that being the case, he changes every day, and he's affected by his environment. They have an old saying in dog training, nurture or nature. How much of the dog's mental makeup, who he is and who he becomes as far as a dog, is nurture, meaning you and your environment, or nature, meaning genetics. And the golden rule that I think, and I think I agree, there's some trainers out there that have classified it pretty much 70-30. 70% is environmental, nurture, and 30% is genetic. You're stamped with it when you come out of the womb. It's who you are. So genetics plays an important part, but everything after that dog's pooped out of the womb is all about the environment and you. So you learning and working with your trainer is very important. So that's just a little bit about stim collars in a nutshell. There's a lot of information on stim collars online on YouTube. Just type in Ecollar, anything like that if you want to learn. There's a lot of trainers that are going out there and really trying to do their best to educate the customers on how to use them, etc. I don't like that because I don't want a customer to go out there without the knowledge of psychology and dog psychology, really understanding how to condition an animal before they go to a stim collar. We live in a button society. I've got a TV remote, I've got a light switch on the wall. Everything in our world is all about a button. And it ends up being that people will end up thinking that that button is the answer to everything. It's not. It's your knowledge. It's your ability to understand dog psychology and how you condition and how you shape and you form that dog's overall finished product. And you never stop. That's the other thing. How long do you take to train that dog? The reality is you never stop training your dog. You're constantly working, you're constantly wanting to do something else with him or trying to reshape or reform or do something with the animal. You never stop working your animal. It's to the day he dies that I'm training my dog. So that's it in a nutshell as far as what stem collars are all about, kind of an overview of that, and who I am as a trainer. Maury, come here. Good shit. Go boy. Awesome. Good shit. Double. Good boy. They call that change of position. I will talk to you folks later. Hopefully that was a little bit of an explanation about stem collars without having to go into a complete lesson on how to use the stem collar, and that's not what I wanted to do today. So I will talk to you folks later, and you have a good day. Bye-bye.